Welcome to Culture Mix by Art for a Reason. My name is Blessing Azubike. Today, we're at the EcoBank PanAfrican Centre in Lagos, Nigeria for the Duality of Time, a solo exhibition of works by Uchay Joel Chima. In Duality of Time, Uchay Joel Chima invites us into this mutable realm. Over the course of 3 weeks, the artist transforms the EcoBank PanAfrican Centre's gallery space into an arena where shadows and light, decay and regeneration, silence and voice converge. Through material alchemy, charcoal, wire, thread, reclaimed objects, Chima gives shape to what time hides and reveals. Working at the intersection of memory, matter, and social consciousness, the exhibition gestures toward the dual forces that fetter us, what once was and what might yet become.
My name is Uchay Joel Chima. I'm a visual artist and I'm the director of the Museum of Contemporary Art, Lagos. And now we are here for the Duality of Time.
Hi, my name is Ayo Shodi and I am the founder and curator at Art From Africa. I've had a few gallery experiences and I have a background in art history and media journalism, which so happens to translate very well in the usefulness of this exhibition.
My work tells stories about time, tells stories about changes in the environment, changes in our society, changes in our economy, changes in the works of our hands, changes in the style, changes in our culture. So these were things I was reflecting on when I started to think of duality of time and all that.
So the theme for this exhibition came about after carefully studying Uchay's works. I noticed that there were different mediums he practiced with, and there was a cohesiveness in the core of it, in the use of recyclable materials, eco-friendly materials, and they're basically environmental friendly materials that he uses to produce these beautiful works. And it's almost taking literally ashes to beauty. That is duality, that is the essence of his work, that is the core of his practice, the forgotten and the remembered. You're shaping something out of nothing, out of what is discarded.
I'm working with charcoal. The charcoal you see today, at some time they were trees, tall trees and all that. But people started to cut them down and all that, and you get to some regions that were so, somehow the vegetation was like green. But now you go there, you don't see one tree. And we're not planting more. We're not planting more trees, and people are beginning wondering, are we going to have trees? Are we going to have the Iroquois in the years to come? Because the trees that they are cutting down today is the charcoals that you are seeing, tomorrow. And, if we don't plant more trees, are we going to have, charcoals? And if we aim at making charcoals, what will be left of the vegetation? So these are our questions. It's changing times. So this is a time for us to begin to, propagate that we need to plant trees. If you cut down one tree, plant many. All kinds of materials to work. I look at materials that will help me to tell stories that I'm thinking about or stories I want to narrate. Like when I work with strings, I want to talk about connection, oneness, relationship, bonding. And that's what strings, these things are symbolic. That's why I use strings. When I use charcoal is also symbolic. I look at this as, they say, as black as charcoal. Black is beautiful. These are things I think about when I use materials. These are things beverages that we eat and we throw away. We litter the environment. You see the sea, the rivers are blocked by all those things, the gutters and all that, and But I send people to pick those things, and I pay them. It opens up the gutterways so that the water, the rain can move freely. We recycle those materials. We use them to make artwork.
The side that people don't want to touch, the hard parts, the metals, the copper, the sacks that don't make sense to people, he sees sense, he sees a way forward in that. And that in itself is art. Art is something that is created out of nothing and it speaks to everyone. And these works definitely do. The magnitude of them, the size of them, the colors, the composition, everything just cohesively makes sense. And without even, regardless of the subject or the title of whatever exhibition, the core stays the same. That's duality, that practicing with two extremes and finding a balance that communicates and translates to people. I completely and thoroughly enjoyed discovering that side from studying and looking at his works. Every single one has that message in it.
At some point too, I was thinking about we are what we eat. And because we are what we eat, I said, okay, we eat rice, we eat beans, we eat onions. So I started to look for those sack that, leftover sack after rice, leftover, sack after beans and all that. So I started to use it as a sample of what we eat and all that. So I use it to make human beings, tell stories and all that. That's why I work with materials. I recycle materials. I experiment with materials because I use them to tell stories of who we are.
So the sack pieces, I don't know if that's we call them the bobbleheads. During the course of this exhibition, that we termed them the bobbleheads. I love the colors, the colors of light, the colors of rainbows, and the way they just fantastically work together. You would think it's too much colors, but they work very well. They translate, they blend. I'm looking for the perfect word for it. They just make sense. It's almost like it's one color, but it has all the colors in it. And I did ask what the idea behind it was, and it's as simple as we are what we eat,
So I did the work crowded, and I used those sack to represent people everywhere, and that's why we are a rich nation. These people are multi-talented young people. You have artists, you have footballers, you have great men that God has endowed with a lot of potential. That's why, that's what makes a nation great. So I did those work that is titled Crowded 1, Crowded 2, to show who we are as a nation. I have many styles. I work with charcoal, I work with strings, I work with, in fact, I majored in painting. So that side of me is about colors. But when I get into my sculptures, things I do with, mixed media work, where I work with charcoal and all that. Charcoal is black. And the way we see it, like I said, black is beautiful.
Working with the artists, I find that I learn every time. With every artist I work with, I find that I learn. But this one was particularly intensive in watching his process. It's very detailed. It's very intentional. It's a labor of love because it's actual labor. They're heavy. They're strong materials, sturdy materials, and it takes strength to wield it into what they are right now. It takes willpower. It takes fortitude, should I say, and intentionality to say, this is what I see, and I will take the strength in me to mold it into what people will see and appreciate. I learned a lot in this process. I learned the possibility of things. I learned to believe in your vision, because yes, you see it, but you shouldn't be dissuaded by what other people see, because you are the one with the vision and you see what it could be. And I took that in the creation of this exhibition and the putting together of the works. I knew and I could see the possibilities, especially when things were looking shaky. I was like, no, I see what it can be. I see the placement of things, the story, the trajectory, the merging together of the works. Particularly with the unseen and seen, the large pieces. I particularly love that corner. I love every corner actually, every piece, I love it. But I think that one, it just told a cohesive story, the merging of the two mediums and how, you know, they tell their story individually and together.
When I use materials to work, most of the materials that I work with are things we throw away. Think about what people throw away. You don't know that there are potential in what we throw away. Believe me, check about somebody throwing out the bag, the empty bag of rice without knowing that this thing can be used to make artwork. The same thing, people make mistakes in life, we want to throw them away. Somebody said, if your child poos, you don't throw the child away, you clean up the child and all that. So when I see junks, when I see the things that people throw away, I look again. A second look might show you what you didn't see the first time. And that's what you see in my work. And that's what I look forward when I'm looking at people, when they walk in, I say, oh, this is sack. And you know that in some of my work, I practically will leave it so that people will see that thing, that natural, nature of that material. So that you say, this is that. Yeah. So that you will see what we will normally throw away in our household. There is potential even in what people throw.
I love all the pieces of this exhibition. Every time I'm asked which one is my favorite, I point to that one and they say that one and they say that one and it just goes to everyone. So each one has a message, but I think when I draw a blank, the first one that comes to mind is the one based on the California wildfires. And I was speaking to someone earlier about it. I was like, oh, that's interesting because it's a foreign land, and you know, it matters, but how does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? And again, it speaks back to that environmental friendly message and the core of the practice in using eco-friendly materials. That particular, or the two pieces actually, the subtlety of it in the power of the message stands out to me. It's the epitome of something so subtle but powerful.
Actually, when you look at the work beside you, you can see it's almost all charcoal. But what I was reflecting on here is, remember the wildfire at California. That's what I was trying to depict in these two works. They represent the wildfire, the Hollywood fire, where the Hollywood Hills was destroyed and all that, and it was burned to ashes and all those things. So that's what I depicted here. When it was on CNN, and you can see a standing house, and at the end of the day, everything was turned to ashes. Before I've done a work that is, the village was burnt down. Now we've gone beyond village. The city was really burnt down when you think about the California wildfire. And that's the work behind you. The city it's all black, but that's the story behind it.
In the picture or the work, you see the buildings, the silhouettes of buildings, you see the sunset behind the building, and then you see the coal. And then in the next one, it's just the sun, meaning the fires took everything. The only thing that remained was the sun. Everything was turned to ashes, but there's still beauty in that. There is still a room to build. There's still room to build actually, because if you interchange it, it's a starting point. But if you also put it back, it's the aftermath of something so disastrous that happened. It is beautiful in its subtlety, is what I would say about that, and that stands out to me not more than anything else, but when my mind draws a blank, when I'm asked which one is my favorite, I think that comes to mind because it is so powerful and so subtle.
Duality of time does not end at the gallery walls. It leaves lingering questions about causality, presence, and the hidden currents of time. It invites us to reflect. How do our personal histories weigh upon our present? How do we carry forward while disentangling from what haunts us? As we depart this space, the works stay behind as resonant traces, textured, ambiguous, insistent. They ask us to revisit, to return, to dwell in contradictions. In doing so, they extend time beyond dates and into the realm of enduring reflections. That's it on Culture Mix by Art for a Reason. Once again, my name is Blessing Azubike. See you in the next feature.